Hello, everybody, and welcome to another show of Building Bridges Öresund from Helsingborg, Sweden, in cooperation with WTPN. I'm Eddie Dimani, your host, and with me as a co-host, I have got our very special and very knowledgeable Jerry Davis from Building Bridges San Francisco. As the name of our show suggests, the aim of the Building Bridges is to promote peace, brotherhood, unity, respect, and love between all people across the globe. Our special guest tonight is Mr. Julian Bond, whom we are very honored to have with us. We share the same passion for peace, unity, and tolerance, and we know it is going to be a great show. Julian Bond is the director of Christian Muslim Forum, and Julian Bond studied theology and education at the Universities of Wales and Gloucestershire. He worked at the Christian Muslim Relations Department of the Archbishop of Canterbury's initiative for 2 years, starting from 2002. He is the co-author of the inspiring report of listening exercises which propose that the Archbishop support the creation of a National Christian Muslim Forum July 2004. Julian Bond is passionate about improving relations between Christians and Muslims in the UK and beyond. Our religions do not encourage us to be negative about each other. I'm excited by the track record and future potential of the Christian Muslim Forum in creating opportunities to meet, understand, and find new ways of living and working together, inspired by a vision of radical friendship. Dear Mr. Julian, it is an honor having you on board today with us. Please, would you like to add any further info to the presentation?
Well, thank you very much for that very kind welcome. I don't think I really have anything to add to that. That's great. Thanks.
Thank you. I would like to start with a question on how important it is for Christians and Muslims to be in forums and share and learn from each other in today's world as it looks today.
Well, in my experience, it's very important because there are a lot of Christians in the West who are not sure about Muslims and are suspicious or possibly hostile, and this seems to be happening all around Europe. There are places where there are good relations at sort of individual town and city level, but tension in the UK, in France, Germany, the Netherlands, and I think also in the Scandinavian countries. A few years ago, it was actually the year that we were launched, there was a controversy in Denmark because of cartoons that were printed of the Prophet Muhammad.
Yes.
Some things like that are done, it seems, deliberately to upset the Muslim community, and sometimes because people aren't necessarily aware of the impact of these things on Muslims. So it's vitally important that we understand each other and know where each other are coming from so that we can build good relationships and a harmonious society rather than irritate each other.
Yeah. It all comes back. We've done lots of shows where we've talked about education and how education is the key. You mentioned the small problem here outside Sweden, here in Denmark, because I'm living just 10 minutes from Denmark, and I know the rises and I know the atmosphere, how it was when the cartoons came up. So it all goes back to the lack of education, and I'm thinking forums like this, like yours in the UK, could play a significant role, a very important role in educating and helping. My next question would be, the Christian Muslim Forum is about unity, tolerance, and mutual understanding. Are there any seminars and conferences organized in order to educate from your side?
Yes, indeed. We did one in Nottingham, which is in the Midlands in England, north of London, and that took place on Wednesday this week. And then we have another one coming up in Leeds, which is a major city in the north of England, on the 5th and 6th of October. And that's a residential event, so we'll spend 24 hours together.
Okay.
Both of those events bring together local people, imams, ministers, youth workers, community workers, and local activists, to explore how we can build good relations, look at what we can do together, and look at possibilities for creating solid friendships and partnerships between churches and mosques.
Yes.
Yeah, I see that the 21st of September is actually an International Day of Peace, where Islamic centers and mosques across the UK and overseas will be leading their local communities and marking the day. And that is on the website on the Christian Muslim Forum under events, which, just to let everybody know, they can go on there at christianmuslimforum.org, and you can get a pretty good layout of a lot of what's going on with the forum. I know I've been on there looking, and there's a lot of information everywhere on the site, so it's laid out really nice.
Right.
That's great, Jerry. Thank you very much. Yes, we're involved in that campaign, and we're having a meeting on Monday at Regent's Park Mosque in London. So that's the London Central Mosque, to talk about how many mosques are coming on board in the UK to be part of that.
Yeah, that's something that we can promote here on the show, because we have a lot of Muslim listeners here in the States too, and Christian listeners. So maybe they can get this word spread around if they don't already know about it, and get a little support for that too.
That would be great. Yes, thank you.
And we were talking a minute ago about education in the different areas over there, and we had a guest on here a while back, Andy Worthington, and he was talking about the same thing. We had quite a discussion about that exact subject, and the book he had written concerned being able to cross these lines and also educate. And ironically, the same paper that had printed those, he asked them to review his book, and they wouldn't review his book either. So there's definitely some education that needs to be done there. And another reason I wanted to go back to that was because I was in a conversation the other night with a friend of mine that was also on another show, Kelly Marlowe, and a friend of his had said that religion is the problem we have, that religion separates people, that it causes wars. And I want to read you what my comment was to that, and because a lot of people have said that, especially, I don't see it so much really overseas, but in the U.S. I see that comment quite frequently, and it irks me quite bluntly every time I see it, because that statement in itself is a lack of education on the part, and when it mainly comes from the U.S., and I have friends from all over the world, and when it mainly comes from the U.S., it shows me that there's a lot of really miseducation or uneducation about this subject in the West, especially, I think, which that may be because of the size of the U.S. too. So, but what I said religion does not separate people. Romanticism, collectivism, and ignorance, and all that these breed separate people. Pride and greed and arrogance separate people. Agendas, propaganda, and ego separate people. Without a full knowledge and understanding not only of religion, but of many subjects, people cannot logically disagree without including the prospect of romanticism. The need to prove their ideas and ideologies are better than the other, based not on knowledge but speculation learned through culture, social impact, and emotion, rather than logic, knowledge, and critical thinking and investigation. And to say that religion separates people is to blame religion for people's own inadequacies, not the inadequacies of societies that teach Darwinism and separatism. So these are very dangerous when there's not ample access or the ability to be educated in very important truths and scientific fact of what others perceive to be fact, not from knowledge, but from emotion, theory, and hearsay. So I said religion, again, does not separate people. Ignorance does. So that was a very interesting subject to bring up, because I had just wrote this the other night.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that completely, Jerry, and it's a charge which is often made. And if you see religious people actually getting together of different traditions and different religions, they usually get on like a house on fire.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
There are several organizations across the globe that are actually, that are influencing the relations between different religions too. I know here in the U.S. we have at least 2 or 3 different organizations. We have a friend of ours, Rabbi Rabowski, and he has a seminar going that brings Christian and Muslim ministers and different clergy together to train them, but he brings them together so that they can see how each other's practice, and they're able to intermingle and get to know each other, because a lot of the ones he brings together, these people are spread out across the world to actually teach this to other people. So that is in New York, and they're starting another one up in Chicago, I think, in the States. So this is something that is starting to take hold too. So there are places that are coming together and doing this, and more so I think this year than a lot before. I think this year there's been a bigger concentration on actually the same kind of work that we're doing and that you guys are doing. I think it's catching more of a light, and I think that is because of organizations like ours and yours and like all the other people that are trying to bring people together, which is a very good thing, because I know in the past it doesn't seem like it has been in the limelight so much, and I'm very pleased, mashallah, to see this stuff coming together this way.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's really good to see these things happening all around the world.
The thing I would like to get into a little bit more of is what we see today, and we might want to ask ourselves, how come the problems within the religions themselves? Because we know that there are great divisions within Islam itself and Christians itself, and we were talking about education, and what is also very important is the religious education that is not being properly taught out. We know that there are many radicals from both sides or all the sides, and what can we do except for educating and giving the proper education? What can we do in order to, because just as you were saying, Jerry, religion is not the problem, the source of the problems. Unfortunately, many of the Scandinavians themselves here as well, Swedes, Norwegians, and Danish people who've been living, I wouldn't say apart from religion, but at least as they understand it, they have been living apart from the religion. But actually, when you analyze the way they are living their lives, you see that the moral values of their lives are in compliance with both the Bible and the Quran, and that is what I, as an individual, try every day to teach out and to learn, that regardless of the faith and the background you have, the most important thing within the faith itself, Christian, Jew, or Muslim, or whatever you might be, is the good spirit of it, and is the tolerance and the unity that it requires from us to achieve. We have seen in different examples in different parts of the world where people have gone to the extremist radicalism and gone so far as to take another person's life. And we all know that taking a life is just as if you have killed all mankind, and if you save a life, it is just as you have saved the all mankind. My next question would be, I would like to talk a little bit more about the returnal of Jesus. As believers, as Jews, Muslims, or Christians, we are all awaiting the returnal of Jesus. And from my personal faith, which is Islam, we have seen many results or many realizations from the Hadith and the Quran regarding the end of times that we believe we are living at, and we are awaiting the returnal of Jesus, who will come and establish peace and tolerance in the world, or who is actually present in the world, by some knowledgeable scholars that are saying so. What would you say? What is the best way of awaiting Jesus' return? How should we act together in order to welcome him in the best manner, in the best way possible?
I think the most straightforward answer to that is the way to prepare for Jesus' return is to follow his example. Exactly. And to take him as a role model, and to, well, for those of us in the Christian tradition, to re-engage with the Gospels, and for Muslims, the Quran, and the Jesus Hadiths that you have, and look to those. And I think that looking at the example of him as a person, as a prophet, Messiah, is more important than looking forward to what we think is going to happen at some point. And I feel that I need to say that I don't think that the Jews are expecting the return of Jesus. They're expecting the Messiah.
They're expecting the Messiah,
so
yes.
There's a difference there.
Yeah.
And I do have difficulties when people are saying all the signs are here, Jesus is going to come very soon, and start talking about when it's going to happen, because in both our traditions, in the Quran and the Bible, both Jesus and Muhammad say that they don't know, and none of us know.
Yes. 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 Sorry, continue.
And I have great difficulties with people saying that Jesus is already present in the world, because I think, well, certainly within the Christian tradition, if Jesus has returned, then we will know about it. And I would have thought that was true of the Islamic tradition, but I suppose there are some different ideas within that tradition.
Yeah.